American Military University proudly presents Mission San Diego Military, produced by the San Diego Military Advisory Council and Cloudcast Media. San Diego is America's finest military city. From the Marines and Navy to the Coast Guard and Naval Special Warfare, San Diego is a proud military town. Mission San Diego Military will help you better understand how the San Diego military leads, innovates, and cares for community and country. Mission San Diego Military, co-hosted by the CEO of the San Diego Military Advisory Council, retired Rear Admiral David Boone, and Drew Schlossberg with Cloudcast Media, begins right now.
I'm Drew Schlossberg with Cloudcast Media and co-host of Mission San Diego Military, a podcast series generously sponsored by American Military University, a leader in educating our families and our military since 1993. Honored to have as my co-host, David Boone. He's the president and CEO of the San Diego Military Advisory Council, better known as SDMAC. And David is a retired Navy Rear Admiral, and our podcast series is produced by Cloudcast Media. So pleased to have in the studio with us today Frank Martin. He is the executive director of the Armed Services YMCA, joined by his colleague, Bob Kamensky. He is the CEO of Feeding San Diego. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you very much.
David, what do you got to say about these illustrious folks?
Well, first of all, I'm proud to have these two gentlemen as teammates in our endeavors that we're going to talk about, but I have to give you some background on these two guys. First of all, Frank and I served together. And Frank's boss in D.C., Vice Admiral retired Bill French, we three worked together. And so he's probably got some dirt on me that I don't need aired in this public domain, but we know each other well. And then Bob Kamensky here is a retired Rear Admiral. He was not a submariner, a submariner. So let's get that straight from the get-go, that we talk to the submarine community as submariners.
Very good.
And so he has an illustrious career and now doing great things with Feeding San Diego. So
absolutely. Talk about EAG. We had a conversation earlier with our friends from 0800, of course, and STEP. And let's continue that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So a year ago, more than a year ago now, as we are contemplating the end of the fiscal year 2024 budget, there was some risk of a government shutdown back then. And that's when we first started having a conversation with not only these two organizations, ASYMCA and Feeding San Diego, but also with STEP, Support the Enlisted Project, and 0800, about could we work better together than as individual organizations? And so we started a planning effort about roles and responsibilities. How could we work together? What makes sense? And then lo and behold, in May of 2025, we had the Murphy Canyon airplane crash, which was literally in Frank's backyard, in the backyard of his office and space where ASYMCA is, and we operated as an emergency action group, EAG, and we communicated to the Navy leadership and delivered support on time at the right place. And by 2:30 that first afternoon, the commanding officer, Captain Bob Healy, called me and said, "Turn off the spigot. I can't take any more stuff," right? Because we were together with the rest of the community delivering things in quantities that supported the victims of the crash. So I'm very proud to be associated with these folks, and we'll talk more about where we're going.
Yeah, we were asking your colleagues, Ashley and Tracy, earlier, okay, this crash, as you well know, happened early in the morning, of course. I'll start with you, Frank. When did you get the call?
I got called at about 5 a.m. ABC News recognized the location and called to see if they could come and film from our site. But that our whole compound became the emergency action center for the FAA and the TSA and all those folks and fire and police and the mayor was in our offices looking at the security cameras, because we actually had live coverage of the plane hitting the flagpole behind our spot and then crashing across the street, and the fuel tanks erupted, and then the cars started blowing up. And so on our video coverage, you could see 19 cars going down the street because as the fuel went down, another car blew up. We didn't release that footage. They asked us not to do it, but we gave it to the FAA, and that was part of the investigation coming out.
Right. So you just formed the EAG earlier, right? Not that much earlier, correct? And
right.
So here you are. Well, we're going to sit there and figure out how to get this thing going really quick. Bob, when did you get the call?
7:15. David gave me a call while I was on my way into work. I'd heard about the crash, but we hadn't activated the EAG, to my knowledge, at that point. And so once I got the notice, within 5 minutes after I pulled into the office, I was in touch with Tracy at STEP and coordinating which vehicle we would take. We opted to take STEP's vehicle, which we had just provided to them as a grant just a couple months ago. So I knew it was refrigerated, had a ramp. They had loaded it up, STEP had loaded it up with non-perishables like hygiene materials, diapers, things of that nature.
Right.
And we got our direct services team assembled on site by about 8:30, and we were packing up 50 kits of non-perishable, ready-to-eat foods that were probably about 40-pound boxes each. And STEP pulled up to the back ramp. We loaded it up, and they took one vehicle into the crash zone and set it up at one of the elementary schools to start. And then they transitioned over to, I think it was Hancock Elementary
Right.
later that morning.
Yeah, so as Bob points out, you have fog of war in the middle of the opening moments. And so the Navy leadership was trying to figure out, where do we assemble the site to bring not only people but support elements without creating problems for the first responders. So the site moved to a couple of elementary schools. And so through our command and control of the EAG, we were able to kind of refocus to the correct areas of where the delivery needed to go.
Yeah, my daughter doesn't live too far from that area, and my goodness, I have to tell you this, Frank, or you too, Bob. Wow, that was something. But you guys actually, hit the ground running fast. No reason why you wouldn't, because of your background in the military in this area. But here you are again, and now it's a shutdown. So plane crash, and now it's shutdown. I'll start with you on this, Bob. How was the EAJ working with the shutdown?
We had already planned, starting, it was back on 10th of September, EAG had already communicated among the 5 members, what should we be anticipating? And I knew that I was going to get called up for food if it actually took effect. It really wound up being, okay, where are we going to be able to distribute if it's going to be done at military installations? And this is where the value of the EAG comes into play, that instead of Feeding San Diego, ASYMCA, STEP, 0800 each contacting Naval Base Point Loma. We have SDMAC contacts Naval Base Point Loma. They served as the conduit.
Right.
And then in response, for food distribution specifically, and I'm just using that as the example, that Naval Base Point Loma Family Services Center contacted me directly, said, here's what we would like to set up in the event of. And then I was able to get my direct services programs teams geared up to meet that specific set of requirements and also understand the logistics, how we're going to get stuff there, because some of these places will not accommodate either a tractor trailer or a 26-foot box truck. So we have to understand what the on-scene footprint is going to look like so that we can make entry and egress. But the preparation is associated with the logistics, the geography, the main points of contact, and the flow, I'll put it, the proper flow of information. And I think this is one of the things we picked up out of the plane crash in Murphy Canyon, was Captain Healy was getting overwhelmed with different people, organizations, peppering him with questions and with, here are things that we want to deliver. By having just a single point of contact for multiple organizations, streamlines it and allows the on-scene commander to be less inundated by multiple sources of information.
Right. And then, Frank, on your end, how is it going with the shutdown in Armed Services Y?
Well, we normally do 2 food distributions a month for about 600 families.
Right.
Last Thursday, we did it in National City at Bayview. We had food for 200 and 250 or 255 showed up. So we didn't have enough. So it's about a 20% increase. We're doing our next distribution at Murphy Canyon on this coming Thursday. So we're anticipating about 350. And I've activated additional weekly food distributions. Last Thursday, we did one with STEP exclusively for the Coast Guard. And we did it down at the MSRT facility in National City, had the Coast Guard volunteers, and we split up between STEP, brought diapers and produce and some wonderful strawberries, and we focus on frozen turkey and chicken and dry goods. So we're able to get twice as much and coordinated. So I think that model is great to keep working forward. We're looking on the 30th of October. We're now setting that, working with Captain Yackerman, possibly setting something up in Liberty Station at the medical branch clinic there, and we'll keep doing it until the government comes back on. So I think we'll be doing it possibly to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and we're co-host of Mission San Diego Military with my colleague David Boone. He's the president and CEO of the San Diego Military Advisory Council, better known as SDMAC. Our podcast series is brought to you by American Military University, a leader in educating the military and their families since 1993. But before David, I want to ask a question of Bob on this, and then Frank, you jump in as well. I think people are blown away by how our region is hit by food insecurity, and the numbers are monstrous, and they just can't believe it. Talk about that.
Well, in the last Feeding America survey, which we then substantiate with our own regional data, more than 400,000 San Diegans in the county of San Diego qualified as being food insecure, which means they're not sure day to day whether they're going to have 3 meals in that day. And of that 400,000 people, 100,000 of them are kids. So we've been recognizing this since pandemic days. And then things dropped off in 2023 where it seemed like it was starting to stabilize. And then economics drives it. And then it escalated above the 400,000 level. So we've been seeing the need for hunger relief in large numbers persistently for the 4.5 years I've been at Feeding San Diego. What we haven't seen are the pop-ups that are now occurring. Example being in April of this year, on average, we were providing enough food for 155,000 households coming through our food distributions. In July, it bumped up to 188. August, it's 189. The numbers aren't finished yet for calculating all of September, but my gut's telling me it's going to exceed 190,000. So you're watching this escalation go on. Now compound it with a federal shutdown, and you're looking at thousands more who typically would not be seeking hunger relief that are going to be looking for, how am I going to cover the bet now?
So how does that, David, I'll talk with you on this. So how does that work with your EAG and folks like Frank?
Well, we talk often about how do we, whether it's this current I'll say, event in the government shutdown, or something much larger on the scale of the LA wildfires? What's our reach back capacity? So within the EAG, we have different capabilities within the team, and that's great, but different events could overwhelm any one of us in terms of the services they provide. So how do we reach back into the nonprofit community to get support? And we're actively having that conversation now as we think about maturing what the EAG is about. And that's an important part of what we do. I would ask Frank, in addition to food, ASYMCA provides a lot of other services that you should talk about, Frank.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, the Armed Services YMCA is the oldest military support organization in the country, starting in 1863. Abraham Lincoln gathered 50,000 volunteers for our organization to serve during the Civil War. We've been here in San Diego since 1920. We have deep roots in the community, so as part of the contribution to the EAG is using our 501c3 pool of donors to identify financial help to assist in the plane crash, or assisting right now in government shutdown. I'm seeing an uptick in donations specifically to help out junior enlisted families. Our larger effort is childcare and military spouse unemployment. 20 to 24% of military spouses that want a job don't have a job. Just over 4% for the national average. Yeah, something's not happening right, and a large part of that is the constant moves, the lack of extended family support, and the lack of childcare. And here in San Diego, it's so expensive. So we subsidize childcare significantly and provide after-school care and summer camps to align with the San Diego Unified School District. We expanded from 32 children last year that we could handle. Now we're up to 120. It's a drop in the bucket, but at least that's what our donor base has helped us build a brand new $8 million facility in Murphy Canyon.
Yeah.
So I want to foot stomp this point. It's expensive to live in the San Diego region. I think everybody knows that. But for a young enlisted military family, they almost have to be dual income to make it, right, in our region. And if the spouse can't go to work because they can't find adequate childcare at a reasonable price, it's just a spiral that you get in. You can't dig yourself out of. So Armed Services YMCA provides a critical service for particularly those young families that are just trying to get off the ground, and really appreciate what they do.
Well, I mean, and it goes further than just those families. That's anybody who's connected to those families, and this, both you guys know that as well. And so, yes, you're helping that immediate family, but you're talking about everybody else that has in their concentric circle. Talk a little bit about, Frank, if you can, the new Center for Military Families.
Yes, we opened on the 2nd of June and had summer camp through the summer. I love my job. I get to take a break every day and hang out, see the 5 to 7-year-olds running around. It's wonderful. Very generous donors.
He was like that on active duty too.
Well, listen, he hasn't changed. I think that's good. You have not aged. Very good.
So that's what generous donors, the Midway Foundation, the Zabel Foundation, farmers, Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, all donating substantial sums that allowed us to build this facility. We have no debt. We're operating now at a break even. We're not trying to make money. We're trying to just break even, keep it low cost or no cost for the junior enlisted families.
My first PCS, when I came back to stateside, we were so stressed out. Everything was just thrown at us, and I wish I could just go back and tell past me, like, hey, it's going to be fine. Go with the flow.
Bob and, like Frank and your colleagues we talked to earlier, Ashley and Tracy, volunteers are just so critical for your operation. Talk about that, Bob.
Last year, we had over 13,000 uniquely identified volunteers, and I'm not counting the repeats. We have some people that come in every week. They're retirees, and this is how they spend 4 to 8 hours of their week every week of the year. Volunteers are our lifeblood beyond just financial and food resources. Without them, we can't do our job. I only have a staff of 80 people. And to move the volume of food that we do, and it's great to see families coming in. You see sports teams, organizations that are doing a volunteer day, and they come in for a 2-hour shift, and you'll have anywhere from 30 to 50 people coming in for the morning, another group for the afternoon, a third one in the evening, and they're knocking out literally thousands of pounds of produce sourcing so that we can net it into 4-pound bags and then glean the stuff that is not consumable, at least not by humans, but then all of that gleaned product that's not edible goes to pig farms. So it doesn't get wasted or put into landfill. And the pig farmers, it covers more than 60, 70% of their feedstock. And it's just an amazing ecosystem that's been developed because when I look at volunteerism, people can volunteer their time, their treasure, and their talent. And we get all three. It's just the outpouring from the San Diego community never ceases to amaze me.
Well, when you're talking about one of the fundamentals of life, I guess you could air, water, and food, right, in this area. Everybody should be able to relate to you're hungry. And then look at the amount of people we talked about, Bob, that are hungry almost every day. And we talk about the kids, in that maybe their only meals are during school, correct? And on the weekends, that's a tough nut for them. Talk about that.
We have something called a school backpack program. We're not unique. There are other organizations in the hunger relief sector that do this. And that is delivered to the schools on Friday. And they get an 8-pound kit of non-perishables with some of the less perishable type fresh produce, apples, oranges typically. And it's enough to carry a kid through Saturday and Sunday, and maybe 1 or 2 siblings, just to have good nutritious snacks available in the event that they're not going to be getting 3 squares in a day. We also have launched a major campaign called 100 by 2030. And this is to have 100 school pantries in operation throughout the school year by the year 2030. And we're currently up at 68.
Wow.
In just the past few years that we've put this into operation. And we are provisioning for 150 families at each of these schools twice a month that they're going to go home with 30 to 40 pounds of food at each of those distributions. And you do that throughout the school season. And it's not trivial to operate. And it takes volunteers from the school. It takes the food. It takes all the cost of the logistics, the arrangement, the movement. So it's a big undertaking. And we have had donor response that is phenomenal. I'll just give you an example on the donor response.
Please.
We recently had a fundraiser which we host twice a year. It's called Pairings with a Purpose. And it is a dinner that's multi-course with wines to pair with the food. And each donor that comes, and we have about 100 to 140 people attend, will contribute so many dollars per seat. And then you have the silent auction. You have the live auctions. And then you have your paddle raise. It's typical fundraising events. And to stimulate the crowd, we typically have 1 or 2 paddle raisers when it comes to, are you ready to support a school pantry for $25,000 for the school season? So we had our seed in place. The paddle goes up. and 5 more paddles followed within 2 minutes. Wow. It was just incredible to see that type of responsiveness. We had targeted about $250,000 in planned raise, and we generated in excess of $375,000. So that's the generosity that goes on. It's there. It's, are you resonating with the need they feel committed to contribute to? And when you combine some of the things like children, and in our case, we also combined in with it, there are several predominantly military-based schools, either at Camp Pendleton or Hancock Elementary, or now Miller is going to soon come off the wait list, because we have more than 50 schools on the wait list. And then we know there are some in South Bay that are greater than 50% coming from military families. Hey, for us, that's a twofer, because we're looking at kids, military, and rural communities.
Yeah, now it's just so critical. David?
I think Frank needs to jump in here on your what you're seeing in this space.
Yeah, on the food insecurity, we brought in a supper for the after school. So when we picked the kids up from 4 different elementary schools, Miller, Hancock, Vista, and Tierra Santa, we bring them back to our facility. We have them get out on the field and get the wiggles out and get some exercise. Then we sit them down and we feed our 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds a snack, and it's like a noodle dish or a pita roll, and then we bring them into our classrooms and we do their homework with them. So when the military parent can come back to Murphy Canyon, gas the car at the Navy Exchange, pick up some groceries, and then come pick up their child, and they have either all of the homework done or most of the homework done before they go home. The other area on the volunteer part is we're in the Navy Medical Center, and along with the American Red Cross and Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, we run the volunteer program for Navy Medical Center. We do the ward visits. We do the therapy dog program, and therapy dogs are like magical. They know who's stressed out, and they come and they put their neck against your thigh to have them pet you until that stressed out person relaxes. Now I know that because they kind of target me.
Yeah. How come they always come to you, Frank?
And the other program we run worked with the CO of the hospital on missed appointments, and they did a little analysis, and one of the reasons for missed appointments was the parent childcare kind of flaked on them. So we have a program that is an active duty, a family member, rank independent, and they have an appointment in the Balboa hospital system. We pay for that childcare, 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever they need to do. We also do a lift program. So if a junior sailor can't get to a medical appointment, we have an arrangement with Lyft where we get discounted lifts. We send a link out to that person. There's some restrictions on it, but we right now have done like 18,000 Lyft rides. So it really enjoyed. I've been there since 1977 in the medical center, on the first floor of Building 1 next to the McDonald's. So we get a lot of drop-bys.
Well, those 18,000 are could have been missed appointments, if you think about it, correct? And that's not David?
One of the things I want to emphasize for our audience, if you're a corporate member or a leader in an organization and you want to do a teaming event, go as an organizational team to volunteer with either of these organizations. I've done it with my SDMAC team. We've volunteered with both Feeding San Diego and Armed Services Y. And you'll see your teammates, your company or your organizational people in a different light. And you'll also meet the people that need and appreciate the support. And you can't truly understand our community until you become a foot soldier and you're out there. But it's a great teaming experience. You'll see a different side of your collective team, and you'll be closer for it as an experience and benefit a lot from that experience. So I urge you to contact these two organizations and do teaming events with as volunteers with both these organizations?
Well, and listen, when you just spend more than 2 seconds with Bob or with Frank, and obviously with your stellar military background, you guys are about metrics. You guys are about, is this thing really happening? And just hearing your stories, are we doing the right thing? Look at the numbers you're just sharing, Bob. Raised 300,000+ when you were looking at X, Y, and Z. Here's how many families we are benefiting from. Frank, the same thing. What you're talking about as well. So really applaud you folks for that. I know that is in your DNA, of course, and the ethos of both of your organizations. So, but I do have to ask Frank about the horse of the Sun Ranch. Talk about that.
Well, it was gifted to the Armed Services Y in 2019. Yeah. It's part of right on the border of Cleveland National Forest and Pine Valley, 33 acres. Cell phones don't work up there, so it's a great getaway. We have 3 houses, covered arena. We currently are up to 14 horses. We have laser tag, archery, a playground that County Supervisor Joel Anderson funded for us. And this Saturday, we're hosting 600 military family members.
Wow.
And we have two food trucks. We have a taco truck and we have a burger truck. And we're going to take the children out on the horses. We have baby goats up there, and that's a big hit. So we're right now at full capacity, but we're opening up to a waiting list for that. So we're really looking forward to this weekend out there. And the county supervisor and Senator Darrell Issa has supported us with government grants and personal grants to keep the horse ranch running.
That's good. I'll start with you on this, Bob. We asked this of your colleagues, Ashley and Tracy, in the last interview. What can our listeners do and our viewers do to support Feeding San Diego?
Well, I think it's going to be true for almost all the nonprofits that financial contributions can go a long way. We pride ourselves that for every dollar that we receive, that we're able to provide the equivalent of 2 meals worth of food to individuals. So that's number one. Number 2 is the volunteerism. And 1, it's very gratifying. Number 2, I've already described. We can't fulfill our mission without the volunteers coming into play. And then lastly, it's support your fellow San Diegans. There are so many times that I have seen something that I never really experienced during my military career, and that is the impact of our work on a daily basis in the community where I live, which is something that I think is, it sets that type of community engagement in a new light. And it's extremely gratifying to see the impact.
Yeah, well, and it's right in front of you for that matter. And Frank, the same thing. What can we do?
Well, we're setting up our volunteers for all of our events through 2026 right now. When we have a volunteer event, we don't want to get too many volunteers. Mm-hmm. If you're going to come and volunteer, it's got to be enough work that you feel
you're doing something.
You did something, have an impact, and not standing around. This Thursday we have Serco with Amanda Miller from Serco and Navy Federal Credit Union are coming through. Employee resource groups, the ERGs. That's a great event that sometimes doesn't go. So we actively seek out ERGs to come and spend their portion of their funded event to come out and do something fulfilling. So that's in play right now. So contact me and get on our site, and we'll see if we can get some employees there. We're heading into the holidays. We do lots of events. The San Diego Yacht Club has been a fantastic supporter. They have donated to a holiday event called Operation Helping Hand, over $1.2 million over the last 15 years. That generosity, and we have our Holiday Joy event where the Padre Foundation with John and Peter Seidler are coming up. John, they invested in our program, and also Joe Musgrove. Joe's number is on our wiffle ball field, and Joe comes up every year to help with. We deliver 1,300 children toys on the 10th of December. And Old Mission Bay Athletic Club, they put the bicycles together, over 400 bicycles. And when I raised 4 kids, and whenever I got to Navy Exchange and put the bike together, it always pulled to the left or pulled to the right. I'm back are experts. They put every bike rides true.
I think that's terrific. Well, listen, applaud both of you, Bob Kamensky, CEO of Feeding San Diego, and Frank Martin, Executive Director of Armed Services YMCA. And kudos to you, David Boone. You got 4 unbelievable partners for this emergency action group, including yourself on this. And you can see why this is successful. Obviously, we're still in the shutdown and so forth, but they're ready at the mark when the next emergency comes up. But I do want to say something, especially on what both of these gentlemen do, and we'll focus on food insecurity. It doesn't know a date. People are food insecure on March 14 as they are on July 7. And listen, we all know the Thanksgiving holiday, that's where a lot of these things ramp up, and I'm not discouraging people from doing it. But folks, this thing is 12 months. And for all those things that you're doing, Frank, and you, Bob, just something to remind people of.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And the power of our EAG, the Emergency Action Group, is to not only deliver support services more effectively. That's why we initially came together. But really to demonstrate to the community the power of working together, particularly in this time of political divisiveness. So I love the fact that our EAG demonstrate as a group that we're better together than we are as individual organizations. And I think we're all passionate about what we do and how we contribute to the community. So it's an important message that we're better as a community.
Well, heaven forbid, when you row in the same direction, good things happen on this. So, Bob Kamensky, thank you so much for all the great work you're doing, of course, and for many moons with Feeding San Diego. And Frank, with the Armed Services YMCA, thank you as well. I'm Drew Schlossberg, Cloudcast Media, co-host of Mission San Diego Military, with David Boone, the CEO of the San Diego Military Advisory Council. Podcast series is brought to you by American Military University since 1993. Been working as a leading educator of military and their families. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Mission San Diego Military, presented by American Military University, an educational leader for active duty military, veterans, and their families. Mission San Diego Military is produced by the San Diego Military Advisory Council in partnership with Cloudcast Media, the national leader in local podcasting. We're sure you learned quite a bit about why San Diego is America's finest military city. Please like, subscribe, and share the show.
Cloudcast Media.